Yo, what more can I really say? Today I'm giving you the best dreadlocks ever, episode 2, so let's go! I love the way that they're standing up and faded. Kind of reminds me of a Bart Simpson look. Now these are high top freeform locks, could have definitely been started with a dreadlock sponge. I would think these are about 6 to 9 months of maturity so far. These will look phenomenal once they get some length and they go through a bit of a Congo. I love the color that she's got going on here, although I do feel like it would have been caused by some bleach. Now it's not often that we see women freeformers with locks like this, so I definitely gotta represent and hold it down for the lock empresses out there. Now it looks like she's got quite a bit of dreadlocks on her head, but over time these will start to Congo together and she will have a significantly amount less. I would consider this the awkward stage, where her locks don't fall down yet, but they definitely have a mind of their own and stick up wherever they do feel like it. Speaking of the awkward stage, this is a part of the freeforming process that you don't want to miss out on. Now you might be wondering what creates the best dreadlocks ever, and it's simply just going through the whole process from beginning to end organically. Now I love her locks here because she's got kind of a mullet look going on, while the top of her head is definitely having a mind of its own. Once again, probably in the early stages of her dreadlock journey, and it's really about embracing every step along the way. I don't even find that there's an ugly stage that really exists anymore, not even awkward, because every stage is beautiful. And at the end of the day, it takes a lot of dedication and lock commitment to get your locks from looking like this to this. Now these beauties must be in the first couple years of growth. Definitely still hanging out all over the place and sticking up on odds and ends. Not quite there laying flat just yet. Now it's stages like this in the lock journey that make freeform locks the best dreadlocks ever. Crazy, wild, unmanipulated. I feel like freeform locks, especially on women, are making a staple in the work industry these days. Definitely far more accepted than ever before. And the amount of lockfidence that it takes for females to wear their hair like this is immensible. And remember, if you are attaining freeform locks like this, they should be maintained by washing frequently to remove buildup and excess residues that might interfere with the locking process to happen. So cold water rinses really do help a lot. There's so much beauty in this photo. First of all, the lady on the left, her locks looking like Lisa Simpson. For the man on the right, his locks looking like Bob Marley. Both epic freeform locks that look completely different from one another. Now, not entirely sure if the ladies' locks are actually going to become locks in the long term, but they have been started out in a way where they are set to become nice freeform locks if they're left to be. And the kid on the right looks like he's got less than 10 locks on his head in entirety. But he's got some massive length. Makes me think that he's had his locks for at least 3 or 4 years already. Now I truly think that this kid has the best freeform locks because of the size that he's allowed them to grow. It's not often you see youth with thick, long locks like this. There's even some sun bleaching evident here. If you made it this far in the video, I would really appreciate it if you just left a comment down below. Leave a little fire emoji if you made it this far already. Let's get back to the video. And while I'm at it, I wanted to give a shout out to this pick-me Utes as well. The amount of freedom that I can see depicted in this photo is unreal. It's rare these days, even in a pandemic, for kids to be seen frolicking so freely, especially with freeform locks. I truly appreciate parents like this so much that allow kids to experience what it's like to go back to their roots and be one with nature. In fact, the only thing this kid is missing right now is the bare feet to be able to do some grounding while frolicking through this field. It's so important to go back to our roots, to understand nature. This is why we become natty dreads. And there's nothing like boosting your immune system naturally than by being out in nature, embracing all the elements that Mother Earth has given us. So my question is to all you parents out there, would you allow your kids to freeform their hair? Because by doing so, you can allow them to go from this to this. The one, the only, the legendary Lenny Kravitz. It's insane the amount of dreadlock inspiration, dreadspiration that Lenny has given to the world and blessed us in the dreadlock community. Hands down, one of the most influential artists of the 20th century, and I would by far give him the title of the best dreadlocks ever. Why, you might ask this? Simply because he's been able to motivate so many individuals to growing locks themselves. He's been able to attain a look and make it marketable for something being so natural. He doesn't push the interlocks or the instant locks. He just pushes to keep everything natty, right down to the diet that we are to intake, going fully raw vegan. Ital, as we'll say it in Jamaica. Next up, we got some big ass bongo Congo locks. And this may literally be the reason why freeform locks are the best ever, because you get locks as thick as this. And it's so unattainable to most people. But by embracing what we have naturally and allowing our hair to do what God wants it to do, our locks create forms of art that cannot be replicated. And while some people might find this to be ugly, a lot of people might find it to be beautiful. And all I can really say is, don't knock it until you rock it. Or even better, don't knock it until you lock it. And in terms of growing dreadlocks before you go bald, lock it before you lose it. Now these freeform locks coming in on a type 1 or a type 2. Let's see how the difference looks when we go freeforming on a type 4. And of course it's like boom shakalaka, because they come in just as heavy duty. Again, this man has less than 10 dreads on his head in entirety. And we can actually see where his locks have Congoed up over the years. I love the amount of new growth that's coming in at the scalp, the base of his locks. And even his loose hair is quite entertaining, because it's not so loose and wispy, but more bally and woolly, if that makes sense. Now, why I would say this man has the best dreadlocks ever? Because of the size of his separations, his partitions. It takes a lot of lockfidence to be able to rock a crown with super thick roots like this. So we'll see a lot of lifestyles like Rastafari rocking this sort of hairstyle. But what about on the other end of the world, where these religions still embrace the lock culture as well? I present to you the Sadhu Locks. These are religious or holy people of the Hindu faith. Now we call this hairstyle dreadlocks, but the Sadhus call them jatas, which actually have evidence of being known in Hinduism dating back to their oldest scriptures as far as 1500 BC. They were rocking dreadlocks in India. These jatas resemble a matter of pride and provide deep spiritual connections as a symbol of their closeness to God. And they really devour themselves to these locks, and they won't cut them until their master has passed away. It's wild to think that these sadhus generally take vows of poverty and celibacy and depend on the charity of householders for their food. Could you imagine being so devoted to God that you give up all materialism? These guys are hardcore as fuck. And that's it. I appreciate you guys watching this video. Best Dreadlocks Ever Episode 2. I can't wait for Episode 3 to come about. So make sure you subscribe to be in the next video.